Hello everyone, and welcome to a video here on the second channel about my thoughts on some of the recent snapshots. I think it's been like 3 snapshots since I did one of these, and each time I take some notes and just kind of, have those thoughts lying around in my mind until we get the opportunity to make this video and talk about these things. We also got snapshot 21W14A yesterday, which I'm playing in right now, so if some of this right here is news to you, then, go check that out. And I'll tell you what's news to me. I didn't know that this stuff starts sprouting on these items just out of the blue. I thought you had to find some and then put them on the block for it to grow. These were not placed by me around the edges. I've just learned that. But anyway, immediately distracted. You know how it goes. There was something that I forgot to mention in my snapshot video, and that is that you can still smelt the old ores like this to get the iron. And if we take the iron out of there, we get some XP, and that is XP that we've earned through smelting the raw iron. One of the things that crossed my mind is that you don't actually get XP when harvesting this with, let's see, fortune free, and to me it feels like if they're going to add some consistency, that might be a good way to give you some XP. I also think it would make sense because in this game, when you're gearing up and you go underground and you find your first diamonds, right, you make your first diamond pick, and then if you're like me, you don't mind the rest of them until you got fortune free. And we might start to do that with these other materials, right? So them dropping XP would perhaps help you get to that fortune free enchantment a little bit quicker, which I think could be a good idea. Now, there's a lot of discussion about why this has been done. And personally, I don't mind the change at all. I think it's cool. I like it. More stuff with fortune from the blocks is good. But the reasoning is supposed to be to declutter the inventory. And, I think it doesn't really work out too well because you've decluttered the inventory by adding a new item type. So that's one more type of item that can end up in your inventory. But also, with Fortune Free, the drop rate is going to be more than doubled. So if you mine a stack, you'd then have 2 stacks in your inventory. Also, some players will like to use Silk Touch and bring this stuff back to the base or use it as decorative blocks. So alongside perhaps having these 2 in your inventory, you could then have some of that as well. I see the logic, but I think it's just going to end up balancing itself out. And so I don't really think, making it easier to carry stuff around is a great argument for this, but I don't think it needs that argument. I like how it is, as is. There is also one thing that I forgot to check, and that is the gold ore over here. This still stays the same, and it drops nuggets and XP, notably. And if they're going to change that or not, I don't really mind. I think it's cool when there's little variations in the game. Sometimes it can be useful for something. But if it dropped this right here, not sure if that would work. Maybe just keeping it as golden nuggets is a good idea. Also, if you're in the nether, it means you can craft them into ingots and barter without having to smelt, which might be a good argument to keep it. So anyway, rolling back a couple of snapshots, let's go into spectator mode, and then I'm going to remind myself, no, I don't actually want night vision. I think the thing that I wanted to show you was the lush caves, but they're not actually generating in these worlds yet, are they? Okay, looks like I'm going to have to make an edit. So yes, you currently need to generate a single biome world, and this one is the lush caves. We've got the azalea tree up here on the surface, so going directly below us leads us to a cave. I love how the lush caves look, but I feel like they need more light sources somewhere down on the ground level, which you could argue might be bad for mob spawning and stuff. This one right here just has like a perfect balance because the ceiling is kind of close to the bottom area. We can actually see that mobs can spawn, and the lighting in here is really good actually. Even where it gets dark a little bit around the edges, I like that. But for a lot of these caves, especially the big ones, the lighting tends to just feel wrong. Although it seems like I'm finding really cool examples of the lighting working well at the moment. But yeah, when flying around, it just felt like something was not quite right. This is a better example. To me, it's a little too dark around the floor, and I think that adding in some lighting down there to make it friendlier would be a cool idea. One of the other things that I think needs a little bit of work is some of the clay generation as well. I haven't, prepared enough to pick out some specific examples for you. We've got some glow squids down there. But quite often when flying around and checking out how it all spawns, the clay can look a little bit janky. And maybe it needs something tweaked. Maybe that's just a personal preference. There's also the point that it doesn't really mix with the deep slate texture, which is something else I wanted to comment on. I think the texture to this, the changes to this texture have been really fantastic from where it started, especially with this new top texture as well, and the way that they blended the transitions between the deep slate and the stone. Everything's gone in the right direction, and I really appreciate this development cycle, this new philosophy that Mojang have of kind of doing things incrementally and getting the feedback and changing things as they go. It's really making for a wonderful, wonderful snapshot. I also really like that renewable azalea leaves and dirts and roots are a thing. I think that's something we can expect for a lot of things that get added now, that they will keep renewability and farmability in mind. They've heard the community talk about this a lot. This right here would be an example of where I think the clay just looks kind of janky. Like the water is obviously trying to flow downwards. Maybe if it could generate with flowing water sort of coming out to an edge over the clay, might look a little nicer, but as is, I think it looks a little awkward. So yeah, that's an example of what I think could potentially change with clay. Anyway, let's go. Well, actually, we can stay right here. No, I'm in the wrong world now. There we go. There we go. You see, I prepared. I got things in my inventory that I wanted to talk about, like the light source block. Great addition. So many uses technically for map makers, custom experiences, but not for survival players, obviously. We can put down a light source, and I guess it's daytime right now, so it doesn't really show off what it does. But then we can't remove it, and I think one simple change, just let us be able to break it with the fist like this, maybe slowly or instantly, and then if players want to use this in survival, they have that option. And I think having a customized experience is always a good thing for a player, especially with Minecraft. It's all about unleashing your creativity, and people want to play in different ways. Now, we know that there's light source blocks here. You can actually kind of place a block directly over it to replace it. So maybe you could argue that's a way to remove it in survival, which is fair enough. But yeah, I would personally really enjoy using this in survival to light up builds and to stop mobs spawning in areas that you don't want them to, because you don't want creepers creeping into your base and blowing up and all of that. We've also got the addition of the goat mob, which I thought was cool. It was kind of weird to see it introduced with some of its features missing from Bedrock, and I was sort of expecting the snapshot we've just had to add some of those things, but didn't actually touch anything to do with the goats. However, the addition of the screaming goat, absolutely love it. Just a really novel, simple thing to add to give it some uniqueness, because now, you know, if you find one that screams, it's going to be hilarious to bring it back to your base, as the sounds of the screaming are really good. I think whoever did that probably had a lot of fun making those screams in the studio. I mean, I'm assuming they're human voices. They do sound like human voices imitating goats to me. As for some of the other mobs that were introduced recently, we had the Glow Squad and the Axolotl given their natural spawning algorithms, and it seems to be that they can just spawn in water anywhere in the world, which to me is a little bit dull and means that you can apply previous farming techniques to it, right? So we have a lot of knowledge about this game. I'm supposed to specify what biome it is we're after. Let's go to a desert, right? This is a place with not a lot of water. Happen to be next to the ocean, though. We fly inwards, then the amount of water generated by the desert, this is not a good example because there's a river going through it and oceans on either side, but you know these things can stretch out for long distances without a lot of water. Whatever little pockets of it there are, you can fill in, and then when you put in your own water, and you know, you just hover above the farm a little bit, then the only place they can spawn, because of the range from the player, is in the water that you just built. So to me, you know, I was hoping for an opportunity that we might have to think differently to farm these two mobs, and maybe there is a missed opportunity there, I don't know. Last of all, I just wanted to mention that there were tons of community suggestions about powdered snow, with things like converting skeletons into strays, and you know, they should do damage to blaze mobs and whatnot, and it really feels like Mojang listened to all of that and then implemented it, which is really great for the block, because now it's got a few more applications than you might expect, and it also makes a lot of sense as well. And these are all positive signs that Mojang are listening to the community and really, you know, taking a great care with the game and putting effort into everything they're doing. So I'm absolutely loving the development cycle of this game. I think it's fantastic, and I guess those are my latest thoughts on the last couple of snapshots. If you missed any of them and you want all of the details, you can head over to the main channel, check out the playlist that will be linked in the description box below to get those videos. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'll be looking out for yours in the comments down below, so leave some if you want to share your opinions. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.